Hey, what's going on, guys? Princeton Clark here, and welcome to this edition of Making the Connection. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing to some and reintroducing to many Don and his wife Patricia, who are newlyweds here in Scottsdale, Arizona. And today, we thought it'd be fitting to kick off the series for Making the Connection as a series for relationships. And today, the topic we're going to be dealing with is creating healthy boundaries in a society that's so driven by persona and false ideas and social media. So today I just kind of want to jump right into it, not waste a lot of time, because I know a lot of you probably have things going on in your life, as we all do. So we're going to jump right into it. Patricia, Don, I appreciate you guys jumping on today and just spending this time with me, you know, as we make the connection with, you know, so many different aspects of relationships. You know, I know you guys are a newlywed couple, you know, and you guys are growing through different processes, learning how to accept different aspects of two individuals who have two completely different perspectives on life.
Right.
How have you two taken on this path of marriage in a society that's so driven by social media or by the personas that so many people create? You know, I know that we've had talks before and you've created, you know, healthy boundaries for yourselves. What are some things that you guys have done or even realized for yourselves needed to happen in order for you guys to have the healthy relationship or the growing relationship that you now have?
I think first it does come down to, I'm very thankful that my partner, my husband, is someone that is just as dedicated as to the growth of our marriage, because you need that. You can set healthy boundaries all you want, but if the other person isn't on the same page as you, it doesn't matter. You know, so that's initially, you gotta have two people that want it just as bad. You know, that's the first thing. But I think second of all, we, you know, when we first got together, of course, you know, social media is a big thing, and it's good, but it has its downfalls, like we talked about. And as we progressed and got more vulnerable with each other, we started noticing certain things would bother us. And it's because it's such a platform that can also thrive on everyone's insecurities. And I think people don't recognize that. So even, for example, it's as simple as, oh, who did you follow? What are you following? Why did you like that photo? Why did you post that photo? Why did you take that photo down? Like, you know what I mean? There's always something. But a lot of times, if you really think about it, like, it's not, the problem isn't any of those things. It's how you feel inside and why do you feel insecure about that? And as your partner, why don't we talk about it so we can get through that? But it never goes there. It's well, because you like that person, you follow that person. You know, it's really, we found it a distraction. And especially at a point when we're very new, and like you said, it's two people coming from two different experiences. You don't need those distractions at that time. At least we did. And so I found it very difficult, because a lot of times I know when people act out on social media, because I've done it, it's because I'm feeling insecure. And that's just that, you know what I mean? So, I'm gonna post this photo, or I'm gonna do this or that to gain whatever, you know, validation that I'm craving. But my thing is that it was a problem for us because, I hate to admit it, but we're both very prideful people, and, you know, and we take pride in how we look and how we dress, and we can get caught up in the hype. And I think the ability for us to recognize that in ourselves is what allowed us to let go of something like social media. And no one wants to say that, you know, but they take pride in what they post, and they take pride in their followers because it validates you temporarily, but it validates you.
It's all an illusion. Majority of it isn't even real.
It's
you know?
not.
We
If
get
you
caught
really
up in
think
this
about
lie,
it, it's
you know?
not. But I think I noticed kind of early on I had issues with it on his aspect. To be honest, is because I was really insecure. And it came down to, I knew his background, I knew the attention that he had, and I had my own personal issues from just growing up, you know what I mean? And I didn't like it. I knew if we were talking about marriage one day, okay, all BS aside, I really gotta figure out what my end goal is and how do I get there. And to me, I had to bring it up to him eventually after many arguments and, you know, misunderstandings, that I think it's best we take it out. At least for this phase of our relationship. Who knows? We might get back on it tomorrow. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? But just at this moment, for us to really center ourselves, to communicate, and to allow us to create a safe environment to become vulnerable, we had to take it out. And now that we're growing and evolving, and when we get to that place where we have that trust and that communication is there, okay, maybe we want to get back on it. I'm just saying, it doesn't have to be forever, but for us, taking it out was a big thing, because it can lead to a lot of assumptions, and it can feed into the negative stories that people play in their mind, because that's what it did for me, and for him as well. So
I would advise any couple, ultimately, especially a newlywed couple like you guys, at this time, there is so much growth that can take place. Yeah. And so removing all of these outside distractions is really important, because you have to be able to take the time together, because truly loving one another unconditionally also means removing the things that have created conditions that limit your ability to fully connect, that create all of these different aspects or ideas of self that you hold on to, or in some cases may not even realize that you're holding on to it.
That's a great point.
And so being able to take a step back and say, what, I love you so much. I am rising in love with you. So I want to know the parts of you, all those little cracks and crevices that nobody else has ever experienced. And that means we have to do some work. Yeah. And that should be the focus of any relationship, with the goal of evolving into an eternal partnership. Because anybody can have a relationship, but to build a partnership requires two people coming together with a clear vision of what work needs to be done in order to manifest the growth and the changes necessary to reach that overall goal. And so when we talk about, the social facades and the illusions that we create, because we all do it, and as social media rises, you see everybody creating these facades. People in one relationship today, next week they're in another relationship. I hate this person, I hate that person. Oh, this person changed. It's like, it's not really in many cases that they change. It's that you never truly got to know them because you were too distracted by everything going on around you. And so literally, and even having this conversation, being able to make that connection within yourself and within your relationship to say, okay, it's time for us to set clear boundaries so that we can focus on creating a clear vision.
Absolutely.
And until that vision is there, okay, like, you're the man, you're the woman, or together you are both divine beings, masculine and feminine in nature, and how we are vulnerable to each other. The more you do that and awaken to those aspects of yourself together, the stronger that bond becomes. And that's something that a lot of relationships and a lot of people in relationships never learn to do.
Which is crazy.
It's insane. It's insane. Literally, it's insane. Don, coming out of, being a professional athlete and things like that, I'm sure you completely understand, this whole idea of the personas that we create in relationships and how it's easy to get lost, in this idea of self that at some point you realize isn't your true self. Exactly. How do you feel as far as social media and society? How do you feel as far as being an individual on this path with someone that you can completely connect to? How do you feel that's affected you?
I think by removing Instagram and all those other social media platforms, I think it's been so helpful in so many ways. From the simple fact that just like those insecurities, because I used to, for example, like, it could be a photo that she liked, a guy, maybe she liked the guy's shirt. Maybe it's his shirt or the jeans, maybe because she liked fashion, maybe she liked it. But I'm going to take it the wrong way. Because I don't know how she's thinking. She may be thinking, oh, I like his shirt. In her mind, she really liked his shirt. That's why she liked the photo. In my mind, you like who's wearing the shirt in the photo. So things like that are so critical, and it plays with people's minds. Like, and I think from where we're trying to go with social media brings so many distractions in your life. Like, I used it from a business standpoint, it's good for that, just because I think for marketing wise, getting your business out there is great. But as I'm trying to grow in my marriage and some of that social media, just a distraction, I think that's something that like, cause nowadays you gotta think people just wake up Instagram. Like now, like I don't like I'm focused on my family and work. I'm not getting caught up. I don't see what's going on out there with everybody with social media and I like it this way. You know, I'm not lost in everything.
You're living your life.
Exactly. Like honestly, like.
Thing, yep.
And I'm living in the moment. Like I go out to club and stuff like that. I'm not. I look on my phone. I realize we don't have as many pictures like we used to because when we had Instagram or stuff like that, like we constantly taking pictures and putting up there. Like now we'll go out. Sometimes we forget to even take pictures and stuff like that.
You're enjoying the moment.
At the end of the day, like we're so like. I say this to both of us, we live in like right in the moment. Like we enjoying our time right now, but ultimately tomorrow isn't promised. And people get so caught up into the next day, but we focus on living right now. And I think that's by removing social media and really diving into ourselves, been the best thing to happen.
The best thing. And honestly, I'll say this though, is that I think social media would be different if everyone who's on social media was doing self-work. I think social media could be a great thing.
Powerful resource.
Powerful. But that's not, the norm. And I think where we were when we first met and even now, like, we can't afford those distractions. And it may not be a forever thing, because I think where we're going and what I'm feeling like these thoughts I'm having and these visions I'm having now, just because I'm diving deeper with myself, I think one day we could use it to be a very powerful thing, but I want to make sure we're good first.
That's right.
I want to make sure that if something does come up, because it will, we have done the self-work to have a constructive conversation about it versus, oh, now I feel insecure and I'm going to attack you and we're driving us apart. It's really just being vulnerable enough to say, hey, like, why'd you do that? I don't like it, kind of hurt my feelings. Okay, I understand why you did it, maybe you don't. Just really talking about it, because if you talk about it, it takes the power away. But before, I used to assume a lot of things, and I would get so hurt by certain things on there that really I look back now and it's like, I mean, it was annoying, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But now that's because I've done this self-work. I'm learning to love myself. I'm learning to understand where the root of my insecurities are coming from, and it takes the power away. So that's what I'm saying. Right now, we made, the decision together that we didn't want that distraction, and honestly it has been the best thing for us. But who knows down the road, like I don't want people to be like, oh, they're a hypocrite. It's just, this is a phase in our life, and we know that to get to where we want to be, we had to remove it. And I think if we ever get back on it, it would be such a different purpose. It's not to feed into my ego, it's not to boost me when I'm feeling insecure, it's to really help others, realize that self-work is the best thing you can do. The best thing you can do.
And I have the utmost respect for that. Being an individual, a lot of the times it's easy, when it's just you to do the self-work.
It is.
But when you have someone else that's in your life, again, going back to the idea of partnership, you can't have a partnership with somebody that you're not communicating with on a consistent basis. Because even in business, using that as an example, if I have a partner in business, every day we're going to sit down and talk about the steps that we need to take today to be better tomorrow, the steps that we need to take tomorrow to be better, on and so forth. And so coming back and being able to communicate and removing the distractions that limit or affect our ability to communicate is a pinnacle in relationship. And I mean, let's face it, in today's society, there's so many different disconnections because we're too focused on the things that are happening out here. We're too focused on what these people may think or how these people may see us. But, I appreciate you guys being vulnerable and open and, just sharing this aspect of your relationship. And I know that we'll talk about so many different things, as far as evolving relationships and evolving as individuals, consciously, mentally, emotionally, and physically. But I'm proud of you guys, man. And you guys inspire me. I've been married before. And unfortunately my ex-wife and I chose to go in opposite, directions, which was most conducive for my family, and even having kids, and I want to be married again. That's ultimately, I want a life partner. I didn't give up because I wasn't bitter. I knew that I gave 110% to my personal growth in that process. And so now it's like, okay, I'm not going to settle for anyone that I cannot build a healthy partnership with.
So important. And honestly, like, just removing social media, because at first I knew it was a problem, and it wasn't necessarily, to be honest, I had to take a hard look at myself, and it wasn't like well, my boyfriend at the time or whatever was annoying me on social media. It was more like I was angry at, why am I getting so annoyed and hurt over something that, yeah, it's annoying. Why'd you like that photo? Why'd you? But it's really not that big of a deal. Why am I feeling like that inside?
And that's huge.
That's huge. And I had to speak up and I had to say, hey, you know what? I think, I don't think it's a good idea in a marriage. And at first I thought it was forever. But as I'm growing and evolving, I'm understanding that I'm a lot more confident than I gave myself credit for in time. And at first I was like, well, what if we just had a joint page?
Yeah.
Like me and him together, just our family, friends, like cool. Because we still want to be, we're very social people. And that is a good thing, but it can also be our downfall. You know what I'm saying? And then as the kind of time went by, I kind of knew that I wasn't going to be able to help myself the way I wanted, even with that, because on Instagram, there's the ads, the explore page, yada, yada, yada. Things that you don't want to see, they're going to be there.
Constantly pulling your attention.
Yes. And that's just the way it is. But to me, I'm thinking if I'm going to take the time to remove myself from it and do the self-work, I think right now it has to be all. And it was a process. Because both of us at the same time, we are very ego-driven people. And it's a good thing and a bad thing.
It's nothing wrong with having a healthy ego, because that's what drives your inspiration and your passion.
Yeah. And I'm not going to lie, like just independently, if you would look, this sounds crazy, at our Instagram pages, it's like they're dealing with two very strong ego people, we feel ourselves a little bit, and that's just it. But you have to be able to recognize that you do that to then not say that this page is me. You know what I'm saying? Like we had to see like this was a facade. And then it started off with, okay, well, why don't we deactivate it? Because we couldn't quite cut the cord yet.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I'm saying. It was a process. So we deactivated it for a couple months, and at first it was weird. We actually deactivated, then turned it back on, and then deactivated. So because I'm telling you, us two, we're very much alike, and there's some people who are like, Instagram, I got like 300 friends, it's cool, but to be real, we're not like that.
Yeah.
We want to be in your face. We want you to see the photo. We want you to like it. Like that's just how we are. But that's also why we recognize how toxic it can be.
Yeah, because those are aspects of yourself that you're now beginning to evolve.
Yeah. And so then once we deactivated again, we actually got married, and we were kind of like, do we do a joint page? Do we reactivate it? And then it was on our honeymoon. I was like, screw it, cut. Like let's just, it's always gonna be there. So that's the thing. It wasn't like, oh, we woke up more perfect, and we should take out social media. No, it was even a fight with our own egos. Because am I willing to, stupid as it sounds, take away this page that really supplies me with all this validation in order to invest in another person and myself? That's actually a big deal in today's world, because social media is that into our lives.
And you have so many couples in relationships now who they live in the same house, but they will sit on the phone for hours and then wonder why the relationship isn't getting closer, wonder why they're not connecting the way that they have the connection, they have the ability to connect. And it's because all of their attention is here. They're getting all this validation, or this sense of being from a device, and from illusions that aren't even real, and so being able to, separate that is so important. And I love how you said, and again, this making the connection is about being raw. It's about being real, and I love how you guys can be raw and say, our egos are huge, and we gotta work.
That's what I was trying to say, but I didn't really want to say it. Thank you.
But I can respect that, because in all honesty, most people in this world have huge egos. I mean, some people's egos destroy them, some people's egos boost them up. But ultimately, we want to get recentered in the true aspect of our being, not this idea of self, but the true I am self of our being, so that we can create from that place, so that we're no longer creating from the lies and the illusions that we create for ourselves, so that the first thing people see is that.
Well, also, and even to add on the social media, it wasn't even just an individual thing. We started noticing, for whatever reason, whatever we post together would attract a lot of attention, good, bad, and different, you know? But I didn't want so early on in this relationship for us to be consumed of, well, now we go out and now we got to get a good photo because now we got to post and tell people what we're doing.
Keep up the image.
And then we're allowing strangers to hold up this invisible expectation of our relationship. And it's like, we just met.
Yeah.
You know? So if we're growing towards that, we may have, you know, people who like us, people who look up to us, but why?
Yeah.
We haven't done the self-work. And we're actually on that one page, we look great, we look good, whatever society wants to think, but in the house, we don't even know each other.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is you got to ask yourself, if I'm really in this with someone, what's the end goal?
Mm-hmm.
And if that person doesn't want to get rid of social media, not saying it's the only answer, but you know, then they're not on the same page as you.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to recognize that.
And that's, I mean, again, that's one aspect, like you said. It's not the only thing, but that's something that you guys have found useful in your relationship, something that helped you guys, you know, and that's something that I advise a lot of people out there to do. Really analyze your own relationships. What are some things that you're putting your energy and your time into that's limiting your ability to make the connection with yourself and make the connection in your relationship? Because ultimately, if you truly want to build a future with someone, it's about building a partnership. And that means you got to be willing to put in the work. You have to be willing to remove all the distractions that are limiting your ability to communicate and do the work. You know, and so growth and making the connection is all about redefining, rediscovering, and disciplining yourself in the areas where discipline is necessary so that you can evolve the totality of your connection with yourself and with others.
Well, even like real quick, I just wanted to say that even removing Instagram, because that was the biggest social media app that we used. You know what I mean? We do still have Facebook, just it's more family oriented.
Yeah.
But we got rid of like the Snapchat and all the extra. But even now, we still have rules like, okay, well, we're at home together. We're not on our phones.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's another thing, is because, you get rid of social media, but it doesn't matter. You can be on your phone on Google. You can be on Pinterest. You can, you know,
phone's
it's like,
down.
hey, we're here. We're in person. We don't know if the next moment's gonna come. Phone's gone.
I love that.
Exactly. Just like we also learned this from our couples retreat we attended with our church, that if you're having a conversation, make sure it's done before you hit the door. Don't come in the house on a conversation talking. Stuff like that.
It's just little things that we talk about and we say, we like that, and we implement it, and we hold each other accountable to it, and that's how you build healthy habits. We're nowhere near perfect, but the growth that we've made just from taking away distraction and you know, being self-disciplined, taking responsibility, does amazing things. Like, amazing things. Because it forces you to kind of look at yourself in the mirror. You can't go and, I feel insecure, let me go on Instagram and do something, or, you know, whatever. Oh, you can't be on your phone because we have this rule. And if you respect this marriage, you're off your phone. And if you got something to talk about, let's talk about it.
Let's get it all out in the open now, you know, and creating that space of vulnerability. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on the show today, and we're gonna have many more of these sessions, you know, in this relationship series, and I'm looking forward to hitting some other topics with you guys, and because there's so many people out there. Let's be honest, we're all, you know, we don't want to be alone. We don't want to isolate ourselves. We want to feel whole within ourselves and within our relationships, and there's work that we have to do. It's not saying you're a bad person or you're living a lie because you want to live a lie. Sometimes we just don't know, you know, and so it's important to really be real with ourselves, really make a connection with ourselves, and discipline ourselves to make the right decision for ourselves. You know, so I love you guys. I love you guys. And for now, we're signing out. Peace, love, blessings.